Hey everybody, John Murphy, CSSI. Let's talk about the One Big Beautiful Bill, 100% bonus depreciation 2025, particularly for those properties that were purchased early in 2025, or maybe went under contract late 2024, early 2025. Also, let's talk about new construction projects real quickly. Let's try to go through this and make sense of it because I get calls pretty regularly now, especially as tax season's coming in. People are trying to get cost segregation studies done, and they say, "Hey, looking for the 100% bonus depreciation." So let's talk about that here for a second as we get in here. Uh, the bonus levels, again, if you remember, Tax Cuts and Jobs Act back in 2017 brought to light 100% bonus depreciation. Again, 100% bonus is for anything that has a class life of 20 years or less. So as somebody who comes in and does a cost segregation study for you, we're going to identify the 5-year class life property, 7-year components, 15-year components, and then of course the 39-year structural if it's commercial property, if it's residential investment, it's 27 and a half years, the long life. So that became a thing in late 2017, and then all of 2018 through 2022, you got 100% bonus, and then they started doing stair stepping down. 80% 23 if you put the building into service, then 60% 24, and then 40% 2025, and it goes to 20% in 2026, and that's still on the books technically, especially if you have a large construction project that maybe you don't put into service until 2026 or 2027, and you started it before January 20th, 2025. So just be aware of that. But let's talk about this here for a second. One of the things that's in the One Big Beautiful Bill, and again, I'm just the messenger here. I didn't write the bill. Congress has this in there. We haven't received anything from the IRS that would state differently on this. They're looking at the date acquired of the property, so they consider that a very important date. And so if you went under contract and had a binding contract, say December 10th of 2024, and then you closed on the property February 1st, 2025, and then, of course, the bill's gotten signed, and you think, hey, you qualify for 100% bonus depreciation. No, it's actually 40% bonus depreciation that you qualify for. And the reason is because you had it acquired prior to January 20th, 2025, and they consider date acquired is the date you had a binding contract on it. Now, we've got some language we can help you with trying to understand binding contracts. For the most part, I think people understand binding contracts. It is based upon your state laws though, so just be aware of that. And sometimes people have contracts that are not binding contracts, so you can kind of try to figure that out. We're not tax advisors. We can give you some guidance on this, but if you really want to try to push it, you're going to need to have tax counsel or some additional counsel from your CPA on that. But if you've got a written binding contract, and if that contract was prior to 1/20/2025, when you close on the property, you've got a 40% bonus depreciation property. And with that, I will just say, obviously, that's not as fun as exciting as a 100% bonus. You don't get as much immediate tax benefits from it. It gets stretched out a little bit. But remember, we identify the 5 and the 15-year component. That's what you're taking the bonus on. There's going to be 60% of that will be the balance, and the 5-year class life property will roll off over the next 4 years, and the 15-year will take 14 years to get there. So it's not going to be quite as beneficial, but it's still going to be a benefit for the most part. If you can benefit from 100% bonus, you could probably benefit from 40% bonus. Written binding contracts, we've got some information here. I do occasionally run into situations where people don't have binding contracts, and then they just close on property. That might be you, and in that case, you closed on a piece of property, say January 20th, or after that date, you qualify for 100% bonus depreciation. So let's look at constructed property, new construction property. So let's say you've got a piece of ground and you're doing some preliminary work on it, maybe some architectural drawings, trying to figure some stuff out, doing some research on it, and you start construction on the property in early January. As long as you have not done 10% or more of the overall construction project prior to January 20th, and then you put it into service in 2025, you put the building into service in 2025, that would qualify for 100% bonus depreciation. However, let's say you started construction on the project, at some point in 2024, and you're really kind of moving along through the project, and you're, January 20th hits, and you look at it, and you're probably you're more than 10% on your project, you're 20, 30, 40, 50% into it, and then you finish the project, say, in June of 2025, well, that's going to qualify for 40% bonus depreciation. So just want to make sure that you're aware of that. That's very important. If you've got really big projects, say you started them in 2024, and you're working through 25 and you finally put them into service in 2026, if 10% or more of that construction project had been started before January 20th, that property is going to qualify for 20% bonus depreciation. So anyway, just want to make sure you're aware of that. There's a lot of technicalities that come into this. Let me know if you have any questions about it. My name is John Murphy. I represent CSSI. Work all over the United States to help building owners save money on their income taxes by doing cost segregation on their buildings. You can find me on LinkedIn. Check out my blog. Go to costsegbuilding.com. Lots of great information there. And also use our new calculator. Go to costsegcalc.com. Plug in your asset. You'll see what you can save on your taxes by doing cost segregation on your buildings. Take care. Bye-bye.